So I've taken you along with me this week at FIT in class. That was the wool felt hat that we molded on top of this wood fedora block. There's saran wrap because we had to use steam, so the saran wrap protects the wood. Now we're sewing on the sweatband with grosgrain ribbon, and now I understand why there's always a ribbon around these fedora hats, rancher hats, boater hats, because you are concealing the stitching.
All right, I had to bring that hat home to do homework. So, this video is part of my homework assignment, and I have never done a pick stitch before this class, but can I tell you, now that sometimes you'll look at some of the small shops who make hats, and I'm talking about our fedoras, ranchers, boater hats, the hats that involve construction to them, the hats that have a spine. So if you ever look at the price, right, the prices range. I've seen them anywhere from 250 to $1,200. Now 250, I'm like, they got a lot of people working on those hats. It's a big factory. If I see the price for 1,200, I'm like, there's fewer people and they're doing a lot of hand stitching. This is why a hat can be up to $1,200 for your construction hats. It's because the pick stitch, which is a construction type stitch for your garments, it's basically, it takes time, and I know it takes me even more time. Some of you may be faster who are seamstress and tailors, but I've been working on this for hours. Hours. I'm on the last tail end of it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to bring you guys along, and we're going to do a pick stitch together, and I'm going to get even closer so you can see the detail of the pick stitch. Now, I have seen the pick stitch done a different way than what I'm doing it, but that was for lighter material. I am using a single knotted thread, not double threaded, but a single threaded. And I'm using quilting thread, and I'm using a quilting needle, which is pretty thick. And I'm doing this on wool felt fabric, which is quite thick and sturdy. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, the stitching that I've already done, I want to show you how detailed it looks without bending my hat too much. Can you see here the stitching? It's very fine, right? And if you can't see it, then that's the beauty of the pick stitch. It's definitely meant to look on the finer side. And I'm stitching the sweatband inside the sweatband liner inside this hat. Now, there are some people who construct hats who use adhesive for this, but this is not moving. It's not going anywhere. And you may say, oh, well, it's a sweatband. Shouldn't it move? Well, not in how hats are constructed. No, the sweatband was not meant to move, but you can put a disposable sweatband liner in here so you don't, so that it's easy for you. It's like having shoes, you know what I mean? And putting, I guess, taps on your shoes so you don't ruin your heel or on the, I'm not familiar with shoes too much, but you know how we put on the added protection on our shoes. Well, you can add a little added protection on top of this sweatband as well, something really thin. Okay, so let's get it started. I'm gonna pick up from where I left off. If I didn't tie enough knots on this band, then I will go back. I hope you can see here. So I'm gonna put my first one in, overlapping. Let's put it in. Okay. If it comes through, then I'm gonna have to knot this again. Let's see. Is it gonna stay for me? Yes. Yes. Okay. So I put the first one through. Okay. So on this side, do you see my stitching here? I'm just going to follow this. Come up here. Uh-oh. Yep. Yep. There we go. I'm hoping you can see, guys. So once I put my stitch through, now you see where my thread is here? My needle is going to go right underneath here. Before I pull it, I'm going to show you again. You see that? Pulling it through. And with that pick, I'm really going to put it right underneath. I've really been learning a lot in this class, guys. A lot about construction, and that's why I wanted to go to FIT, because I was lacking the structure. I had the creativity, I felt, but I'm like, what's creativity without structure? You want your creative projects to last. And let me tell you, these pick stitches, which is the construction and the spine of your garment, this is what enables your hat to be passed down for generations, is the structure and the craftsmanship that goes into these hats. I have a newfound respect for hat designers. I really do. But I tell you, I understand. I understand why. Now that I'm actually coming home with homework, I know I'll get faster the more I do this. My thread came out. And with the single stitches, single threaded needles, that tends to happen. Yeah. The fact that I have homework, shows, man. This is no joke. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay. So I just wanted to show you guys that. I'm going to continue. I'm going to show you one last time. And I'm glad I'm using pink because I can actually see the detail of my stitching. I can see in some areas, I mean, this is not going to lift up at all. This lining isn't going anywhere. You see how this, even if I had a couple of stitches, you don't want to be able, you don't want this lining to lift at all. I know there's only a pin here, but when the instructor actually made me take out my stitches before because they were too far apart, and she was able to lift it. If you come through, you know you're doing the pick stitch correctly. If this lining, you're not able to lift any of it. Like there is no pickup with the pick stitch. You cannot pick up any of this grosgrain. This is grosgrain ribbon that's being stitched down here. And that's how you know you're doing it correctly. All right, so let's do one more for the road, okay? So we're gonna put it in here. Bring it through. Once we bring it through, our thread is here. Our needle is gonna go right underneath it, vertical. Right underneath it. And that's it. That's your pick stitch. You see that there? All right, guys. Well, happy picking. I predict maybe this will take me another 20 to 30 minutes to finish the last leg of this. And until next week, have a good one. Bye.